Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on two of my favorite tools in Sql, the case statement and views. Seriously, if you've ever wanted to make your queries smarter, cleaner, and just, well, better, you are in exactly the right place. Let's make this simple.
So here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with why we even need conditional logic in the first place. Then we'll get our hands dirty and really master the case statement. After that, we'll unlock the magic of views, see what happens when we combine these two. It's awesome. And then we'll bring it all home with some real-world examples.
At the end of the day, data is just a bunch of raw facts, right? The real magic happens when we can make it smarter. Imagine having a sorting hat for your data that could put everything into the right bucket, but you could do it all right there inside your query. Well, that's exactly what conditional logic lets us do.
And that leads to the big question that every single data person asks sooner or later. Okay, how do I build that classic if this, then that logic without having to pull all my data into Excel or Python? How can we make these decisions happen in the database?
Well, the answer is incredibly elegant and super powerful. SQL has its own built-in decision maker, a single command that lets you embed all that logic right where you need it. And it's called the case statement.
All right, so let's build one right now. We're going to break the case statement down piece by piece, and you're going to see that it's actually way more intuitive than it looks.
So think of a case statement like this. It's a little worker that goes through every single row of your data. And for each row, it checks a set of rules you've written. Based on those rules, it assigns a new value, like high priority or low priority, and bam, it creates a brand new column in your results, just like that.
Okay, I know. Syntax can look a little intimidating, but it's really just a simple recipe. Case when, that's your if statement. Then is what you want to happen. Else is your safety net. It's what happens if none of your conditions are met. And the most important part, you always have to close the whole thing with end.
Now, to make this super clear, we're going to use this simple little students table. All we've got is a student's name and their marks. That's it. Nice and simple.
And here we go, our first case statement in action. We're basically telling SQL, hey, for each student, look at their marks, case when that score is 50 or higher, then call the result pass. For everyone else, call it fail. And would you look at that? We just created a whole new result column that didn't even exist before.
But just pass-fail, that's just warming up. The real power of case is that you can chain as many conditions as you want. Look at this. We've built a whole grading system. When marks are over 80, it's an A. When they're over 40, a C. And for everyone else, it's a fail. See how you can build really complex, layered logic so easily?
Okay, now for a pro-level trick. This is amazing for building reports. You can actually stick a case statement inside of another function, like sum or count. Here, we're telling SQL to sum the number 1 for every student who passed, and a 0 for everyone else. This lets us count up our different categories all in one clean, super efficient query. Let's talk about the number one mistake, and I mean everyone makes this when they're starting out. You write this perfect logic, all your whens and thens are beautiful, you hit run, and it breaks. Why? I can almost guarantee it's because you forgot to tell SQL where your logic block stops. So just remember this. A case statement is a block of code. You open the door with case, you have to close it with end. And here's a little pro tip. Always give your new column a clear name using an alias. It just makes your final data so much easier to read.
All right, so we've got a handle on conditional logic. Now, let's switch gears to our second secret weapon, and this one is all about making our lives simpler. It's called a view. And honestly, the best way to think about a view is like a bookmark for your favorite SQL query.
So what is a view, exactly? It's a saved query that the database gives a name to. Then you can use that name just like it's a regular table. But here's the critical part. A view doesn't hold any data itself. It only stores the instructions, the query logic, for how to get the data. It's a virtual table.
And why on earth would you use this? Oh, there are 3 huge reasons. First, simplicity. You can take a monstrous 100-line query and just save it as a view. Now, it's a one-liner. Second, security. You can create a view that only shows a few safe columns, hiding all the sensitive stuff. And third, reusability. Write your logic once and let everyone use it, forever. Let's put them side by side. This is the key difference you really have to get. A table physically stores data on the disk. A view? Nope. It only stores the query. That's it. This means querying a table is usually faster because the data's just sitting there.
But a view's purpose isn't speed. It's about creating a clean, reusable layer on top of all your complex logic. Okay, here it is. This is the moment we've been building up to. We have a tool for complex logic, that's case, and we have a tool for making things simple and reusable, that's views. So what happens when we put them together? We create a genuine superpower. We get this beautiful piece of code. We're creating a permanent view. We're calling it student_result. And what logic is saved inside it? Our case statement. From this moment forward, anyone on the team can just write select star from student result, and they'll get the names and the pass-fail status without ever needing to know the logic underneath. That's what I call clean, reusable power.
So that's all the theory, but how does this stuff actually apply to your job, or maybe your next big interview? Let's connect the dots to the real world.
Out in the wild, you are going to use case statements all the time, especially in reports. Think about grouping sales into high, medium, low, or flagging orders as shipped. Views, on the other hand, they are the absolute backbone of business intelligence dashboards and APIs. They give those tools a nice, stable, simple set of data to connect to.
And in a tech interview, oh yeah, these topics are coming up, guaranteed. They'll ask you for the definition, sure, but what they really want to know is if you understand the difference between a view and a table. If you could explain the why behind each one, it shows you don't just know commands, you actually understand how to structure data.
Look, if you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. Case statements give your queries logic. They are the brains of the operation. And views give your queries simplicity. They're your reusable bookmarks.
So we've covered the what, the why, and the how. But now, the real fun begins. I want you to think about that one query. You know the one I'm talking about. The messy, complicated one you're sick of running. How could you use a view and a case statement to make it simple, smart, and something you can use again and again? Now, it's your turn to build.